It's also the childlike curiosity, a 4-year-old.
Yeah.
How do I do this? Why does that happen? Why does the sun rise in the east?
Exactly, because you'll end up asking a lot of dumb questions, and also you'll end up explaining a lot of dumb shit to people because you're just dealing with so many diverse people. Like if you're working with a salesperson, a designer, an engineer, a data analyst in the same room, it's very challenging to talk to all the 4 disciplines in the same language. Coding, you know coding, but forget that you know better than them.
Okay. That phrase is going to be featured in the video for sure.
I also feel it very happens that whenever somebody comes up with an idea on their own, they have more ownership and drive to deliver it. And especially for an engineer, they take it on their ego that I can solve anything. So rely on me if you've hired me. Alright, we are live. Welcome everyone to the inaugural first episode of Berkeley's Product Management Club. We are launching a podcast, something that all of you have been demanding, and here we are with our first episode. How excited are you, Kevin?
Yeah, I'm super excited, Divansh, and not every day happens something like this, and this is actually our first episode. And welcome, Sparsh.
Thank you, Kevin and Devansh. And I'm super excited that you started this because, as you were talking earlier, like there's a big void in the industry or kind of knowledge space where people are not able to break into product management. There's a lot of knowledge of how to grow up or how to become a growth product manager or even kind of go from your intermediate level to a higher level. But like people from solutions engineering, people from finance, people from sales, like people from engineering, how do they pivot into product? That's a very big void. So super excited to be here, and thank you for starting this.
We are honored to have you, Sparsh. Just to make this clear for our audience tuning in, this episode is going to be a goldmine of figuring out how to pivot into product management, especially for people who are software engineers, because that is exactly Sparsh's background. So you'll have some more insights on that for us. Moving on, we will also be discussing a pretty practical case actually almost from his work-life domain, that how does a product person think, and we will work it out like a consulting case or a product case interview together as students, and he will then give us some feedback, and then we'll figure out how a top 1% product person actually approaches these problems.
Yes, let's do it.
Before starting the case, let me introduce Sparsh. There are a lot of achievements here, so let me introduce him. Sparsh is a dynamic product leader at Salesforce, driving their entire hybrid product portfolio, spearheading groundbreaking AI on edge initiatives with hyperscalers like Amazon and Azure. As sought-after speaker and thought leader, he has also shared stages with IBM, Red Hat, and other Fortune 100 companies at iconic conferences, including Dreamforce. Whether through blogs, webinars, or today with this podcast, he aims at inspiring new wave of product leaders around us. Thank you so much for this.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Great. So also just to add, he's a very active member of the student community here at Berkeley has, whether his own club or PM club and all the other, he was there at our earlier events and always help out here to guide his community.
And a golf player as well.
Well, you gotta learn it at some point of time. So yeah, but yeah, I've been super involved with the community over here. I do feel Haas is a really good bunch of leaders who are gonna make a massive difference in product management. It's just that there is some guidance needed, especially in today's market where things are kind of a little bit rough. So happy to help in any way or form I can.
Great. That's the energy we love, the helping out each other in a community way. And we are product geeks here to dig deep into a problem. But before digging into a problem, we want to introduce a very interesting segment that is around reviewing memes on product management. I'm sure you have followed them on Reddit or Instagram, wherever you get your daily dose. But here we have
There are so many. Man.
We actually saw a few in his presentation when he was guiding us earlier on. Yeah. So let's get into one of them. And stay tuned if you want to figure out more hot takes you don't want to miss them. You don't want to miss all the fun that is all along, like behavioral insight, what does it actually mean to work in an office where there is politics, product management, how does all of that fit in? So let's stay tuned and figure all of that out. Great. So here we are starting our first segment of Product Managers Meme Review. This is our first meme. You'll have it on your screen. Thanks for editor. Sparsh.
Oh, so...
Tell me why. I just had to do it.
Yeah. So, yeah. It's very interesting. The one thing which I do agree with over here is we are kind of a soul singer of our message a lot of times, because a lot of times you will be like, okay, the message or the song that you were singing 3 months ago was very hit back then, because everybody was like, let's do it. And now suddenly the song has gotten to the rock bottom and nobody gives a shit about it anymore. And that's typically product management in a way. Like, as we'll talk about it in kind of sometime in terms of hot takes as well, like the pace at which problem statements change in product management is very fast. And sometimes like 4-year-old for sure, because half the people don't understand what you're telling.
It's also the childlike curiosity of 4-year-old.
Yeah.
How do I do this? Why does that happen? Why does the sun rise in the east?
Exactly, because you'll end up asking a lot of dumb questions, and also you'll end up explaining a lot of dumb shit to people because you're just dealing with so many diverse people. Like if you're working with a salesperson, a designer, an engineer, a data analyst in the same room, it's very challenging to talk to all the 4 disciplines in the same language. So you kind of have to, yeah. So I do agree with like the singing part and the 4-year-old as well.
Yes. Being first principles oriented.
Yeah, being curious. Being
Yeah.
curious.
Then this is another one. Poking fun at the confidence level of your decisions.
Well, okay. This is kind of close to my heart.
We have poked another there.
See, the thing is, one of the Amazon principles, I'm not an Amazon guy, but I do know their principles somewhat. One of the principles is leaders are right a lot, right? And the thing is, in product management, you are dealing with so much less information that you have to go in with conviction. And yes, 40% of the time your conviction will be mad shit, and and it will actually land to rock bottom, but 60% of the time it lands well. And that's what you're supposed to be there for. Like, you're supposed to take risk. You're supposed to be the person who knows everything and put on the tie as that guy is doing there. So yeah, it's kind of close to my heart.
Experiments are bound to fail sometimes.
Yes.
Do you think that percentage grows over time?
Oh, no way. Like, it's like asking a VC, do you think you can, 50% of your companies can make profit? Obviously, no. It's not built that way.
Of course.
Like, if at any point of time I stop taking risks, then yes, that percentage can go up. But also I won't exist in my job because my whole job is about taking risks. So yeah, that number will not go up.
Great. And the next one. This one lands close to heart.
Yes. Okay.
Do you weep your tears with cash first?
Not something I can share on camera, but okay. I'll say this. There is a perception over there versus there's a reality. Perception is that a lot of people go into product management to go into execs, but there's a difference between causation and correlation. Like, yes, when you correlate a lot of leaders, they are product managers. But if you think that, okay, product manager is the route to go to become a leader, not necessarily so. So yes, good PMs do wipe their tears with money because yes, the growth trajectory is very fast. Every 2-3 years, you're probably gonna grow very quickly. So yes, but that doesn't necessarily mean that every product manager does that.
Okay.
True.
Okay. So a lot of money, guys.
Yeah.
This one is a video.
Oh, wow.
Oh, there's a child. Oh God.
Oh no, poor baby.
Deliverables.
Okay. So you'll see a lot of answers from me kind of skirting around because that's what we do essentially, as is shown in the video. I agree. I agree with the video to a certain extent. Not because we are deceiving, but a lot of times people may say they want something, but they are not ready to pay for it.
Yeah.
Everything comes with a cost, right? So as product managers, a lot of things that we have to do is we have to figure out or make some really
Technical issues.
no worries. Yeah. We have to make some really hard choices, but also we can't make everybody unhappy, right? So there's this phrase that you will see being called by a lot of product managers and product leaders in the industry today, which is you need to know how to say no without actually saying no. What does that mean? What that means is, okay, somebody is coming to you and they're saying, hey, we should do this. They might be your leader, they might be your peer, they might be your customer. And you can't just say outright no to them. Like over here in the video, she's the baby, or she, I'm just assuming here, is asking for the pizza slice or ice cream or mac and cheese. But do they really need it? Probably after 3 hours, they will not be they will be cranky because they are not eating the right thing. So you have to kind of skirt your way around where you have to say, okay.
Technical issues.
So yeah, you have to skirt your way around where you can't outright say no to them, which may appear deceiving. But I'll say this, we have right intentions at heart. As in the video, all the good things are being fed, not the wrong stuff.
So this is very interesting because this is an inside scoop. Yeah. Generally, if I dig a bit deeper in that particular thing, when you say saying no, is it like saying it politely, or is it actually giving some logic or some other direction to the conversation? How do you say no? Is it just polite, or is there more to it?
It's a very key skill in product management. Why it is sometimes yes. If the other person is frustrated enough, or if the other person is identifies that you're skirting around and they are not willing to take a direct answer, like not a direct, but like not willing to understand your logic, right? Yes, you may have to put your foot ground and say, hey, we cannot deliver this, or we cannot give this. But more often than not, you would want to keep them on your side, because in any conversation, when there's a yes or a no, there are two sides, right? Because there's a yes side, there's a no side. As a product manager, you don't want to create that. Your whole job is to keep everybody on the same side. So it's very hard to convince the other person of your thought process and of your vision and of your agenda that, okay, we want to help you and we are on the same side, but hey, what you're asking for, we can't do it.
No, makes sense.
Yeah.
And it's a hard job, I can only assume. Here we have, it's slightly long, but it's about developers having conversations. Basically, hard conversations with non-technical peers.
Love that.
It's not that simple, alright? I have priorities, my team has deadlines, I'm still not understanding this. Why is it so hard to display the birthday date on the settings page? Why can't we get this done this quarter? Look, I'm sorry, we've been over this. It's the design of our back end. First, we call the bingo service. See, bingo knows everyone's name-o, so we get the user's ID out of there. Then from bingo, we can call papaya and MBS.
This is a very long version. Let me just...
I got your point.
I'll skip to one more part.
Feature goes against everything I know to be right and true, and I will sooner lay you into this barren earth than entertain your folly for a moment longer.
Breakdown of a developer.
Alright, so clearly this is a blocker. No problem, push this out another 2 to 3 years or so. Learned a lot today, love Galactus. But we'll talk next week about adding middle names to the profile. Awesome, sounds good. Take care.
Yeah, I don't think that PM went anywhere after that, probably.
Has this happened before, your conversations with non-technical folks?
Or have you
Yes.
seen any PM like having those?
Or an engineer having a breakdown?
Yeah.
So this is going to be interesting. Like, I was an engineer before, so I know what thought process the engineer is coming from, and I'm from a product manager standpoint. On the other side, I can feel what an engineer would feel like, or what a product manager feels like, right? So one thing which I always say to all people who are asking me to become a product manager, especially from engineering, is that's the best thing that can happen to you if you were an engineer and you're trying to become a product manager, because you know the language to talk to an engineer. Most PMs don't. And that's a missing piece that you saw in the meme. So yes, like what you saw in the meme is a really good depiction of what problem exists in today's world. But a good PM would actually be able to have that conversation unlike that PM. Because yes, when you are building a product as an engineer, you know the best of your job. Like, you know the best of your technology, you know the best of what can be done, what cannot be done. And as a PM, I should be able to understand how to take what you have built and create value of that towards the customer. Sometimes that means I need to know Kubernetes, I need to know technology, I need to know that service. So probably like I have a Kubernetes certification. I'm a PM. Half of my engineers don't have it.
Interesting.
You can always up your game.
Yeah.
When you're working on a technical product by now.
Exactly. And everybody has to have some technical knowledge. Yes, if you are application PM or if you are in a complete application layer, even though I would recommend people in product management to sit down with their architects and engineers once a month and just tell them, hey, assume I'm a 4-year-old baby and walk me through technicalities of your product and how the product functions today. That will make things so much easier.
Having an honest conversation at the beginning. It shouldn't be too late in the process as well.
Oh, no. Like what you saw over here is engineering, like there are already 2 sites created. Like I told you earlier, the whole job of product management is not to create 2 sites.
Yeah.
And over here, you're seeing that the product manager is clearly on this side, engineer is on that side, which is not good.
It's like they're working on 2 different products.
Yes, exactly. What I would say, one extra thing is, which I guess meme shows a little bit. And from an engineer standpoint, you also have to convince your engineer as a product manager that, hey, whatever you are building is only going to see the upside when I'm on your side. Yes, you can build anything, but I can bring, or a product manager can bring the customer adoption, like more funding, more like marketing, everything their way. And the feature that they have built can see so much more value only if they see that, okay, whatever product manager is asking for is actually because a lot of people want to build it. Now, this is only true for good product managers. Like over here, this is a very typical thing. Why does it take 3 weeks to add a button? I have had that conversation with my engineer. Yes, why does it take 7 weeks to change color of this text? I may not know, and it may be very important for me, but maybe if there's that hard conversation on such a small level, that means there's a bigger, deeper issue where either you have too much of an old technology or your engineers don't know what product it is or what technology it is, or on top of it, you are asking for just something bizarre which they are not motivated to do, and they are just giving you over bloated costs because they don't want to do it. It does happen. Like if you give them crappy work, they will give you so much additional effort, like 7 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, because they just don't want to do it.
Interesting how memes got really real.
Yeah.
And that was the objective as well. That easy way to dive into the realities of the life of a product manager.
Yeah.
Great. So that brings us to the end of our section on meme review. Thanks for sharing quite a lot of insights in this fun section as well. Now we will move on to the other section, but before judging our memes, guys, I will request all of you to please send us the best memes out there, and we will feature them on our podcast, and hopefully we'll get you on as a guest on this podcast as well.
Let's make this part stay. So we are expecting like good memes from you and also good reception from the actual memes that we talked about.
I'll share actually one. You all should search for this. I used it in some of my previous when people ask me about product management. So there's this meme where there's a cradle, and the kid is lying in the cradle, and the kid is seeing only the behinds of all the toys which are rotating above the kid.
Oh, yeah.
And the
product design.
Yeah, and the parents are like, oh, there is an elephant here, there's a tiger here, there's all of this. Like
they can't see the face of the elephant.
They all can see the face, but the kid can't, because the kid is looking up towards all the behinds. And that's a typical product management issue. Like, who are you serving? Yes, you can say that you're serving the parents,
the paying customer.
Yeah, because they are the ones paying.
Yes. More business oriented PMs.
Exactly. But the kid is not seeing anything. So yeah.
That's a huge dilemma.
So I love that meme. I love that. Yeah.
Okay. Great. So with that, we'll get into a design case right after this.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, let's get into it. Let's shift some gears and do some product case together.
Awesome.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Awesome. So Salesforce, as you know, it's a customer relationship management company, CRM, that's the stock stands for. There's a application or a cloud called Service Cloud. And imagine that you have been hired as the product manager for hotels who are using, or hotels market who are using Service Cloud. and you have to expand the adoption of hotels in Service Cloud. You don't have to. Yeah, I'll just start with that.
Got it. Great. So, quick recap: Salesforce CRM, product is called Service Cloud, and the PM's responsibility is hotels, which is a new segment. Does it already exist? Is there some part of the product that exists, or?
Great question. So yes, you can assume that there are few hotels who are already using it, but right now we are kind of struggling with boutique hotels, like larger hotels like you have Hilton's or Marriott's, or like, not saying that they are using the product, but or not, like that's something which is different. But let's say we have larger customers, but you are trying to get smaller boutique hotels into the product.
Just a quick question, like among all the businesses, I'm just curious to know why hotels, do we have like huge expectations here, or?
Oh, great. So that's a good question. So in terms of the expectation with this project is, like, after COVID, a lot of people are starting to go back into like traveling, and like there is a lot of personalized experiences as well. So beyond Airbnbs, now a lot of boutique hotels are coming up where people have their own experience, a curated experience created. And we largely have had customers who have larger chains, but now we want to break into kind of smaller boutique hotel as well.
Awesome. And is there a geographic focus for this product?
For the purpose of this question, you can imagine US as your focus. Yeah.
Great. So I think that's enough on the clarification side.
Yeah.
We'll broadly approach it like the simple framework we discussed, 3 C's. Company, competition, customers. Perhaps
Okay.
in the order of company, then customer, then
Sure.
competition. Great.
Yeah.
So we will think of some key questions that we want to ask. Just
Okay.
give us 1 minute, then we will each fire a few questions
Yeah.
your way.
Go ahead.
Awesome.
Great. Okay, so let's start with one section at a time. So my first question is, as the PM of hotels, is there a KPI that has been assigned to me, or do I have to figure out what KPI will I move? What business objective will I move?
Well, eventually, company cares about ACV and AOV, right? Now, beyond that, yes, like there are basic KPIs, so attrition, adoption, and money. Like those are the basic KPIs. But beyond that, open to you. Feel free to create a KPI that you feel would be better to track. And if you have a good enough justification, we can go with that. But eventually, that's the main goal, like
Correct.
ACV and keeping customers. That's kind of a basic business KPI, right? So.
About the company that the product offers, this Service Cloud product, how extrapolable this is, or how attractive this is to the customers? Is it like something that is like an API, or do we need some additional implementation per boutique hotel? I'm just curious to know a little bit more about the main product this company offers.
Okay, thank you for asking that. So, Service Cloud, essentially what it does is it allows, whenever you call, let's say you're in a hotel and you call, hey, I need some more towels, or hey, can I request a 7 a.m. Call, or hey, what time is the restaurant opening, or like what time does the swim, like
Help desk.
yeah.
General queries.
So that's just one segment of it.
Okay.
But you can imagine that any sort of like service that you have to provide to the consumer, it helps you dispatch that as well.
Okay.
So there is a broader, like a common platform. Yes, every consumer or hotel chain can build their own experience around it, but they don't have to limit themselves to what our platform is providing. So it's pretty flexible, but you can just, for the purpose of this conversation, let's say you can just take the aspect of servicing these customer help desk use cases and leverage that to increase the adoption of boutique hotels.
Got it.
Okay.
Also on that phrase, increase the adoption. How do we measure adoption? Like somebody has paid for our product?
I'll go back to the KPI again. Like it's up to you to define how you measure that. Eventually, the core measures will be ACV and attrition and things like that.
Okay.
So, but if you say that, okay, having a higher engaged customer leads to a better ACV versus having more number of people, like depending on what kind of a business you build, right? ACV can be translated different ways.
Just can you be clear what you mean with ACV?
Oh, it's
Annual contract value?
yeah.
Okay.
Contract value, dollar amount per year.
Oh, contract value.
ARR, annual revenue.
Annual contract value.
Yeah, ARR. I'll use ARR word going forward. Yeah.
Great. And how do we make money? Is it subscription based? Like,
Yeah, it's a typical SaaS product, right? So it's like anything that you would buy a software for and you pay through that. Like, I don't know if you saw the recent Agentforce launches, but recently now you can like get Agentforce from a per call perspective as well. So like each call that gets answered, the business kind of pays through that. But like, let's not go into the payment side too much. But for now, let's just assume that you have to bring customers in, like more. Let's just settle on the aspect. Okay, more usage means more money. So how do you get more usage of Service Cloud?
more usage of existing customers and also newer customers. Got it. So I think that's good enough for us to move on to the next segment. Awesome. So now we'll focus more on the customers. You said boutique hotels. And we also have some existing customer base. So is there some key purchase criteria, or how do they evaluate us? Do they have a rubric? Have we created it? What's the context there?
Up to you. Like, you're asking great questions, but imagine that you are a PM for this. Nobody knows the answers to any of this.
Okay.
You know what the product is, and from a boutique hotel perspective, all we know is what I told you, that they like Airbnbs. Now you are seeing many more boutique hotels which have their own experiences.
Okay.
Now, I don't know what their individual experiences may be, but they are more personalized in many ways.
And can we assume that there are different tiers of these boutique hotels? For example, like the ones that generate like a lot of revenue, 80% revenue, and can we categorize? Would it be okay to assume that these boutique hotels have also like different tiers in terms of revenue as well? Is that a good assumption?
Well, that will depend on what your assessment is. Like, you will have to probably research on that.
Okay.
But for us, it doesn't matter whether you do tier 1, tier 2, or all three tiers.
I'm just thinking about how other ways could be to segment our users. Boutique hotels, you already asked about the tier, but maybe what are the other ways to segment boutique hotels? What do you think?
Yeah, because the main key is increasing ACV. I was just thinking like which one or which hotels would be more inclined to adopt a service that could be expensive, and maybe depending on their operations they could need that. That's why I was interested in the tiers. Maybe also when we're talking about hotels, let me take a pause here to think how we can categorize these clients.
Meanwhile, my question, because we already have some customers, we might know their usage pattern, what is making more sense to them. Some traction that you're seeing on some features versus the others.
You can imagine that boutique hotels is a net new category. We don't have any of them. So you are free to create as much
new
as
product.
Well, I mean, there are also some seasonal boutique hotels, for example, like ski resorts that only have like most of their revenues in one season. Maybe they will be interested in like a particular different type of service and cost compared to the other ones that are located in cities that have
Business hotels versus recreational hotels.
Leisure, yeah.
Perhaps.
Maybe that could be
Recreation hotels are more in holiday destinations and business hotels will be in major cities. Yeah.
So which one would you choose?
Pros and cons.
So this is after pandemic, and probably the area in which that is increasing mostly is the one that is related to leisure. So people are like eager to travel around because they've been locked down. So I'm expecting, I have strong assumption that this area is increasing more than the other one. So yeah, I would rather choose that for that because you mentioned that context instead of the other one.
So leisure hotels instead of
Over business hotels.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go with that then.
I need to figure out some needs, and would I have to get data for that, or how do I figure out the needs of the user? And there could be different users, people who are actually buying our product and people who are using the product.
So what you can do is imagine that you know what the product offers, right? It's not like you can create a brand new product. The product that you are offering and the use case that you're going after is customer service desk.
Yeah.
Now, in a boutique hotel, imagine that you don't have to go like corner case evaluation, but if you have ever lived in a boutique hotel, just imagine if you were running that boutique hotel, how would Service Cloud help you? And that's your use case. So let's start with that. So assuming, let's say you are a boutique hotel owner, and like you are going into the leisure market, and you have Service Cloud with customer service desk capabilities. How would you go about that? So that's your customer, and then that's your company aspect as well.
Alright, so all the jobs to be done by this particular product,
Yeah.
and we can approach it through the regular workflow of how somebody operates the interface between a boutique hotel and a customer. So one is checking in, like if we just go in the order of sequence, what else?
I mean, I see three important parts here. Checking in, before like going in there. Second, the services that the client may need when he's staying there, and also the post-customer service. And this would also mean like probably remarketing strategies to make him come back, because this is a leisure service. So he may come like next year or next season. Imagine this is a ski resort example. So
like informing them of discounts or promotions.
So we may want that to be automated, and in the second part, which was like the service that we are giving the client while he's staying. So just making sure that everything is aligned to his expectations, because he's probably gonna leave some reviews, and we want to also check that frequently and make sure that is automated as well. And you were talking about the checking part, you know. Calls are something that we could automate by AI agents, as long as it's natural enough for the client. But not only calls, reservations, maybe some inconvenience that the client may have about the payment options, because it is a boutique option.
You will just announce the price while you're telling the service. And I would use actually the telephone that is in the room. Hotel room is like a menu of services. What all do you need? Do you need laundry? Do you need anything? So all those services are right there. That is used like from a design perspective. It's the first thing that the customer will approach because they're used to it. So using that as an interface, but on the back end using AI somehow to make that resolution happen. So in terms of the interface, I will keep the same one because it's natural for the customer to go for it.
Okay.
Right. And in terms of, let's say, the top 3 things that you want to solve, I think checking in part is not as you're saying before even they arrived at the hotel, you need to automate something like where is your hotel? Can you guide me with the landmark? Things like that. Those questions.
General information. General
questions.
Yeah.
So general questions before somebody reaches there. Then all the menu services that are on the phone, and then afterwards, after checkout, these discount promotion campaigns or remarketing campaigns. These 3 are the broad.
Interesting. You mentioned marketing campaigns. So are you expecting to use Marketing Cloud as a co-sell opportunity with Service Cloud?
Yeah. That I didn't know that product also existed.
Yeah.
But thanks for the context. That could be a new opportunity because anyway we are selling that product.
Yeah. Marketing Cloud is a separate product in Salesforce which can be used for campaign management.
So it would be like an add-on to this product.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like Service Cloud is purely for engagement. It's not for sending broad emails or sending broad marketing alerts.
I mean, putting myself in the shoes of the client, that could be useful because probably they lack of salespeople. This is a small or a ski resort, imagine. So they don't have like enough resources to be proactive about reaching out.
Well, sorry to interject, but you're a PM for Service Cloud.
Okay.
Your job is to increase ACV for Service Cloud.
For Service Cloud.
Okay. Yes. So
in that case, I think, it wouldn't.
If that happens, it's not like it's cannibalizing our revenue in any way.
Yeah.
So that's easier to pitch. As a PM, it will be easier for me to pitch it. The value is higher. So.
Okay.
Yeah, at this point, I think the jobs we want to solve, we have arrived at that.
Okay.
Do you want us to go a level deeper on how we will design it?
No, let's forget the design part for now. Okay. So if I got this correctly, in terms of
I'll try to summarize.
Yeah, go ahead.
So we were supposed to grow the customers on the boutique hotel front, and that doesn't exist anymore already. We thought about two segments in the boutique hotel segments. One was business, another was leisure. Because of recent trends of people doing staycations and all of those things happening, we feel there's a bigger opportunity. We can validate that with some tests, but we are going after leisure market, and within that leisure market, we see that as an engagement platform, we can engage before the customer arrives at the hotel, while they are staying at the hotel, and once they leave the hotel. When they are arriving, we can help them with figuring out landmarks on getting to that place. That's one where we are solving a problem. Second is when they are staying, all the menu of services available on the landline phone, that's in the phone, using that as the existing interface. And the last one was
related to basically
like
sales.
marketing campaign where there's a co-sell opportunity with the other Salesforce, the marketing cloud that's already there.
How are these? Sorry, is that all?
Yeah,
Okay.
these are the problems we want to solve. Yes.
So in terms of problem statements, how are they different than for a boutique hotel or a boutique leisure hotel versus a regular hotel? Well, seems like these problems would exist for a typical hotel as well, right?
Business hotels will be less about what does each thing cost, because they look at the bill at the last that okay, now my company will clear it. For leisure hotels, that people might be checking the cost more. So should we build a product which is easier for price sensitive customers?
Yeah, especially since it's related to leisure. Also, there might be less solo travelers, so maybe some packages. Yeah, because
So we have to find some key differentiation why this is ideal for leisure hotels. What is so different about
seasonality also as well might maybe something that only happens in these leisure and boutique hotels that wouldn't happen in the common business hotel.
Okay, let's move on. So
Okay.
let's say you have identified a problem statement where there is one key service which is of this boutique hotel, and unlike a typical big hotel which you can find everywhere which has a website, a typical boutique hotel may not have their own website or may not have their own like phone lines, as you said. So because that will cost money. Let's say you create a tool or an app through Salesforce ecosystem, which is much easier. Let's say if you call a number, then you're able to get all the information about that particular boutique hotel and all the services, right? So basically you are not expecting a boutique hotel to have a phone line, you're not expecting them to have a website, you are expecting them to still be able to reach the customer when they are living in the hotel, maybe through phone line or by other mechanisms. Let's say that's the use case, right? Because eventually you are servicing the customer.
Right.
So let's say you reach the customer. Now you have leisure hotels, you have the use cases. Then where do you go from there?
How do we differentiate ourselves from all the other, because that's the last segment, competition we haven't spoken about.
Okay.
So which are the legacy players that are already established in this market? Are there new entrants? What are they? What strategy they are using to enter the market?
Okay.
So anything on the competitor side might give us a way to differentiate ourselves.
Like, do you have any thoughts over there as to what it would do?
Who could be other competitors? Like all these AI agents as contact centers. It's a common thing. A lot of small startups are doing this.
Or also, these businesses also create like websites with low-code apps, no-code apps. That could also be
Perhaps having more domain knowledge, like you are a leisure hotel, people are there to travel more. So you should be almost a travel guide, very experienced and knowledgeable about that location, what all your guests can do
That's an
to
interesting.
make their travel experience optimum. Especially for those who really like to plan things out very well, they ask a lot of questions.
That's super interesting. Yeah, like that's a good idea. Like probably having some sort of a leg into, or like for a boutique hotel, which a typical big hotel won't do. Like what is that local value add that the boutique hotel is doing? Yeah, that could be a good one.
So they could be good at some existing tourist guides, perhaps. Then we can feed and train our agent. And something like that. So this will be a voice bot then, most likely.
Okay, awesome. So as a PM, now you have a market, you have a product line, and you have customers, or I guess market, you had all your market customers the same, but you also know your competition a little bit. So what do you do now? Like your job was to go and increase the adoption of an existing product. So how would you do it?
Come up with an MVP, something, maybe an experiment that we can test quickly with low budget and validate some of our assumptions that we made while arriving at this product.
Yeah, because now we gotta think about the go-to-market strategy once we have set all the definitions.
What was the go-to-market strategy? Can you?
So, I was just thinking about, since we have everything like almost ready in terms of the definition, how can we bring this to the market actually? So just looking back to the potential clients, I would categorize them, for example, into variables like feasibility in terms of like how possible is to do a test with them in the short term, but also impact based, how big enough they are so they can be interested in getting this service.
Right.
So if we have a lot of clients that they are easy to reach and they have interesting revenue, so they would be interested, probably I would start with them in the MVP.
Another thing we have to look at is the capabilities we have already. Are there certain things that we lack? Like clearly we don't have business development or we don't have existing clients. Then maybe we can look at some partnerships, at least for the pilot. There could be, like I know one website, it's called EcoPlower. It's a OTA website, but it lists all the eco-friendly hotels that in a particular geography. So if we can find these smaller communities where there's an existing customer base, they have some tech platform already, and we can plug into that somehow and partner with them for a pilot. So that's one idea for a go-to-market strategy. Or if we are very confident, then we can go ahead and think about acquisition as well. There could be niche technology providers to these.
Yeah, that will be challenging. Like for now, like Service Cloud is a pretty established product. So acquisition seems like always a solution for the problem. So yeah, interesting thought processes. So do we want to kind of take up okay?
I think we are good. You want to summarize once? I tried it once, but whatever we have discussed so far, then this is a recommendation. These are the 2-3 reasons to do it. And this is potentially what I will do as an experiment to see if it works.
Yeah, sure.
Give it a shot.
So we were thinking about leisure hotels. We were thinking about also leveraging a particular competitive advantage like local tourist guides. And also thinking about some solutions for the go-to-market strategy. We're thinking about also two variables, prioritizing feasibility in the partnership with the client, but also impact according to the revenue they are generating currently. So according to that, probably thinking in those alternatives, we are going to choose the ones that would be more interesting based on those two variables. Do you want to add something else? Yeah.
I think we are good. I just want to mention that partnerships could be a quick way to get to customers because we don't have an incumbent customer base.
Yeah.
And preferably people who already have some technology they are providing, and our service could be parallel to that, and so that we can validate the need and then use those learnings to build out our product.
That would be good.
So that's our best attempt, but would love to hear how you would approach it.
So first of all, great job. Great job, both of you, in kind of going into the deeper analysis, and the 3 C's obviously help. One thing which I would say is if this was a real interview, it would have been a lot more different, because typically there should not be much of silence in an interview, specifically in product management. Like in engineering, also people always, even when I was interviewing as an engineer, there was always that thing, okay, think out loud.
Think out loud, yes.
Don't go on the board and just start writing. Think out loud. What does that mean? I'm not asking you as an interviewer to solve the problem for me right now. I can't possibly do that, right? So all I'm looking for is seeing what is your thought process like.
Right.
How do you think? Because if you're able to think from a particular engineering design thinking and all of those mechanisms, or if you're able to think from a product management standpoint, then the problem that I'm giving you today is just one of many, right?
Yeah.
So typically what I would say is there's a little bit of trying to solve the problem from both of you, and instead of that, for example, one thing which you did very well was market segmentation, right? Yes, it took a while to get there, but yes, you did it eventually. You chose leisure versus business hotels, and then you chose leisure, right? In terms of use cases, there was a little bit of struggle, but eventually what I would say is in product management, you will not know a lot of things. Like for example, a lot of product managers, when you either grow or when you solve a problem, the new problem may be very different than the previous one. So you will have to very quickly get into the understanding of what the problem is and just not try to fight with it, but take it at face value. In terms of use cases, sometimes you just have to take the use cases at face value because you may not know the best, right? So let's say when you asked me and I said, okay, take the boutique value use case where a particular customer is owning one, and they are talking about using Service Cloud, or Service Cloud wants the boutique hotel as a customer for the check-in process or the customer service process, where you are like servicing a customer for the typical phone calls that happen, right? Now, you don't have to go too much into how that happens or why that happens. You can take that at face value. Okay, that's my problem statement, that's my scope, and then how that would be different for a boutique hotel.
So we will get more points if we are more creative, or more points if we are more practical.
There is not one or the other. What you will get more points for is thinking more like a customer. Like if you can put yourself more into their shoes, and if you can give a reasoning for that. Like for example, the local value add that you said about boutique hotels, that okay, probably these are boutique hotels because they are doing something special, like something which a Hilton or something which a Marriott or something which a big brand name hotel may not do as much of, because a boutique hotel knows more and is more catered to create their experience, right? That's you justified the value, and that was a really good one. Like that's probably showing, okay, you're thinking from boutique hotel perspective.
It's almost like teaching your customer how to differentiate themselves from the bigger hotels. And when you start thinking like that, you will offer them solutions which are helping them win in their market.
Exactly. Like for example, maybe you would want to add a capability into the product which allows them to surface their marquee capabilities even more, right?
A quick question here. How do you balance, for example, the number of hypotheses that you make towards that, how the customer feels, and also the number of questions to clarify? Is that like something that you
so at any point of time, whenever you are going too much into the vagueness, a good interviewer will actually ask you questions directly. Like for example, when I was not clear on your go-to-market, I asked you point blank, okay, do you already have a go-to-market? Can you tell me more about that? So like I want you to think from a customer perspective and build hypotheses, but which are legible. Like for example, when you say back of the hand calculations and things like that, I want you to think that, okay, whatever you're thinking is actually, like you showed me a meme, right? Like product managers are 60%, 70% right. Because they try to put themselves into the customer's shoes as much as possible. Like over here, if I am a boutique hotel, your point of that they are seasonal. They might be something which are in remote locations and people are only going traveling. That's a good way of thinking. Now, it would be great if everything, I will know about everything, right? But that's not the case. Like today I am doing product management for one product, tomorrow I will not be doing for something completely else. But I should be able to put myself in the shoes of the customer. So yes, you should start with the hypothesis after you have confirmed the pointers from the interviewer. Like keep asking questions. If at one point of time, if you're asking too many questions, an interviewer will tell you, assume X.
Got it.
But also, if you are going too much into the hypothesis, the interviewer will also tell you, why do you think that will work? So there is a balance. So this is a typical thing you will see in an interview, where we want you to remain in that guardrail, where you are thinking very much from the customer perspective, but are also confident and comfortable living in the unknown.
Got it.
Like, because you may not have on the answer, but you should have a hunch. You should have a good feel about it in a way that, okay, what I'm thinking seems to be right. Like, is there any other way of even doing it? Like, for example, when you say local experiences for a boutique hotel. What else can be different for a boutique hotel, right? If not local experiences. That's a very good natural thinking. So that helps. Cool. So that will help. Like on the last piece, which I'll just say on the competition side or go to market, try to think a bit more on that. Okay, from a customer standpoint, I'm sitting here, I have already invested so much money in a boutique hotel that I've created, and this is a guy or salesperson coming to me, or I've seen this ad of Service Cloud, or like how would you reach this customer, right? You have said partnerships or acquisitions. Those are very high cost.
Partnerships are also high cost?
Yeah, very high cost. Like, because eventually what has the other company to gain over here? Like over here you are trying to sell to a consumer and you're thinking that okay, I'll add another company to this engagement and I'll just hope that these three parties come together so that the customer buys both of us. That's very challenging. So ideally, given this is like you could have taken two routes. So in go-to-market, which is you want to reach a customer, right? How do you reach a customer? So you could have asked a question. Are you looking to go after like chain boutique hotels? Because there are also boutique hotels which are like multiple ones. They are not so much of like they still have that creativeness, but they are also at scale. So like anything on VRBO or anything on Airbnb, like things like those which have, or you have these massive like tent houses in national parks, right? So maybe you could have said, okay, are you looking to go into more B2B segment of boutique hotels, or are you looking to go into B2C as to directly serving the boutique hotel owner?
A chain is much like easier to scale. You will have tested something. It's
a longer cycle. So the first thing is you could have asked that question. Okay, which one are you going for, right? Like for example, Salesforce is used by all. Like it's used by small business, medium business, large business, everything, right? So from that perspective, you could have asked, okay, like I would have said, for now, imagine that you go into individual customer base because we don't have the time to wait for a longer chain partnership to happen. So just assume that we are going after B2C. Then the problem statement becomes very clear. Then you would have to imagine, okay, if I'm going B2C, that means I need to do ads. I need to figure out how will this customer even know. Then you can ask question, okay, can I sell this product individually? Or does this product only sell in a bundle? Right? So there are a lot more questions you can, and the more and more questions you ask that way, they give you the interviewer an idea that you're thinking broadly instead of just assuming.
Got it. So have to be more comprehensive when you ask her questions.
Comprehensive in a non-solution manner. So like comprehensive is a very interesting word, and since I was an engineer before, I know how that may get misconstrued. You have to be comprehensive in your answer in terms of how many tangents you touch. What I mean by tangents is pricing, packaging, how do our placement, like
the 4 P's we are talking about.
That's on the marketing side, right? That's why we are in the go-to-market, right? In customer discovery, in market segmentation, like how many different ways you can think about a problem from. You won't get more points of going into one topic very deep. You will get more points of going in many topics.
And then deciding perhaps which one to go.
Quickly prioritizing as well. And this is more important for the
Exactly. Like for example, the moment you said, okay, I feel like there is a business hotel, there is a leisure hotel, there are seasonal hotels. But for the purposes of ACV, probably seasonal hotels won't pay that money and we want boutique hotels, so let's go with leisure hotels. So you saw what happened there, right? You went into so many different segments and then you quickly identified, okay, no, I should go here. Similarly, in the competition side, maybe you could have gone a little bit more into, okay, what are the different ways of now reaching the customer? I can either go sell them directly, I can sell it through do these customers already have some Salesforce product? Can I co-sell them? Like, do I have to reach them through a marketing campaign? Do I have to reach them through and then ask questions there.
Branches of questions on each node and then decide based on our own hypothesis, but just talking it out loud so that you get feedback in real time, move on to the
Yeah.
next node. Nice.
Great, that was an interesting case. And now we're gonna switch gears towards some behavioral questions. I would say like to explore the human side of being a PM. So there is an interesting topic that is called office politics. Some may love it, some may hate it. So I'm curious to know, Sparsh, what would you like to share about office politics and how critical do you think it is for a PM?
Okay, so I'm going to start with a bit of a misnomer here. Politics is not bad. Like, people typically have a connotation that politics is bad and it's messy and things like that. But I'll tell you the reality of what politics is. Like, it's easier to tell people who already like you something, but it's much harder to engage with people who have different mindset, right? Like, again, if you imagine from a product manager standpoint, you are talking to 5 different disciplines, and on top of it, you are trying to vouch for a product which doesn't exist. So you have to be the best champion of what you want to achieve, right? Because if for a typical low-level PM, it will be not that abundant because they have been given a problem which has been identified to be solved. But once you go higher up enough, you will have to identify the problem yourself, and you will have to convince people of different branches, of different ideologies of your vision. And that is what politics is. Like, if you look at how our government works, like, you have people from 50 different states. Not every state thinks in the same manner. And to get any federal regulation which applies to all states, a particular member of the Congress from a particular state will have to convince all the other members for that particular value. And that's what politics is.
Building consensus among
Exactly.
stakeholders.
And not necessarily, not just amongst all stakeholders, all diverse stakeholders. Because you will face sometimes very strong argument and a strong and a correct argument from somebody who is on the other side of the aisle.
Right.
But as I said with product management, right, your whole job, as I said in the beginning, the whole job is to not create sides.
Just a follow-up question. Would you say that, there were occasions where you prioritized winning that political battle instead of prioritizing the winning for the product?
I am so glad you said that, because that's exactly where politics has a really fine line. Like, as long as when you are in politics, or in other words, when people have given you that power to make a decision for them, or when leadership has trusted you to take ownership of this product area and drive it to somewhere, some people, if not in right mind, may end up using that leverage for their own personal self-good. That is when politics becomes bad. But more often than not, if you have the right checks and balances in place, that particular person will be weeded out. At least in my experience, everybody who was gunning for their own personal benefit couldn't do it for much longer. They were weeded out over time. But in terms of myself being able to do that, I couldn't even if I wanted to. Not that I want to, because typically it becomes very hard to grow in a company if you are doing dirty politics. That's what people call by using the leverage for their own benefit. Because you by game theory methods, right? If you go by game theory, trust, you can be non-trusting one time to a person, but once you are non-trusting to that person or a party, that party won't engage with you again.
Yeah.
Right? So product management is not a game of one single interaction. You have to interact with the same person again and again and again and again. So you won't be able to, yes, you may get benefit one time or 2 times, but if you start doing that too much, you will be siloed out. So yeah. So I'll just wrap up with this. Politics is good. you should know how to do it, because it's not about self-benefit, it's about engaging with people who do not necessarily agree with your opinion and still being able to work with them and come to a consensus.
Great.
Nice.
So, yeah.
What an insight. Thanks, Sparsh. Okay, great. That was insightful. So second question here is about your transition from being an engineer to product management. So we all know that. So I'm curious to know how you leverage those skills in your favor when you were transitioning to product management, and any advice or tip that you would like to share.
Oh yeah, that's an interesting one, and something which I'm still learning towards, to be fair. Like I sometimes I do have to settle the engineer inside me a little. I'm an engineer and product manager, kind of two personalities in one in a way. But you showed me that meme, right, of a PM and an engineer fighting in a way. So as I said back then, like the best thing for an engineer that can happen if they are pivoting into product management is to identify what parts they should keep of their engineering mind and what parts they should forget.
Is it harder to forget?
Yes. It's easier to unlearn than to learn. You will, like, everybody who is wiser than me knows that it's much easier to learn new things, much harder to forget bad habits as it goes. So for example, if you're an engineer, you should feel proud to be able to talk to an engineer in the language that they understand. When it comes to costing of products, when it comes to planning of products, when it comes to tech debt is a big hit to a lot of people. Like people end up building products, and after 3 years suddenly it hits them, there is like 6 months of tech debt, and now for 6 months you can't deliver anything. But you being an engineer previously, you should use that leverage to your benefit, that hey, I know how this technology works, and I'll try to make sure that the tech debt doesn't accumulate. I'll not be the PM who says, why does it take 3 weeks to add a button?
Rather, he'll be proactive and he'll be telling this is how long it should take ideally.
Not even you. No. You should never come up with costing.
Okay.
You should always let the engineering come up with costing. You are not responsible for costing. You should be responsible for why and kind of why a problem needs to be solved, and how important it is, and kind of why an engineering manager or engineering person should work on it. Basically motivating them. Then if you're doing the right job, if you're like talking from their mind, you'll see wonders happening, because the engineer themselves would feel, okay, this person gets me. This person is not just asking for some bizarre thing like a button on a page which doesn't make sense, but this person understands so much of this art which I'm building, because for them it's an art, right? And then when you're going from that side to the product management, what also you have to unlearn is not trying to solve it. Like as an engineer, when I moved to product management, I would go to my engineering, I would say, let's do this, and this is a problem that a customer is facing. And I know that you have these 4 products, and this is how the service works. Why don't you just go and add this variable or this function over there, and that will solve the customer problem. Never do that. Last thing you want is to tell an engineer how to code. So just forget that, yes, at one point of time you loved coding, you know coding, but forget that you know better than them.
Okay. That phrase is going to be featured in the video for sure.
I also feel it very happens that whenever somebody comes up with an idea on their own, they have more ownership and drive to deliver it. And especially for an engineer, they take it on their ego that I can solve anything. So rely on me if you've hired me.
No, so that's the thing, right? Like, and I did that mistake a lot of times myself. And if I'm saying crap because I don't know the technology, an engineer would keep listening to me like for 2 minutes, and then he blank out. He'd be like, what is this jargon that this some random PM is coming and telling me? So there is no use. Rather, what I would go and tell them is, hey, okay, this is a customer. This is what the problem that they're facing. And I know that this is the boundaries that you're functioning within, because I know a little bit of Kubernetes. I'm not going to ask you to build like a fancy AI capability because you don't even have any basics for it. So I know the bounds that you're working within. But within those bounds, this is the problem statement, and my hunch is maybe we should do X, Y, and Z, but you know the best. Now you ask me questions if my problem is not clear. Like for example, for a typical data problem, right? When you go and say, okay, now let's pick that meme for an example. Why don't we add this button here? Well, a good engineer would say, why do you need a button? And a PM should have an answer. Because 80% of our customers come through UX, which is like our UI, and this particular button will reduce engagement time by 30 seconds because customer has to click 6 buttons instead of that they only click 1 button. And I don't want a consumer to spend 6 minutes on or 30 seconds on just clicking 6 buttons. Now an engineer knows what the problem is. Maybe adding a button was not the right solution. Maybe the right solution was having all those 6 buttons into a workflow where they still see everything on the top, but they just go through. There is not a single button. Maybe they come up with a better solution, right? You never know.
So the more concise you are with the context and more on point you are, because there is a lot that developer doesn't need to know as well. So you should know exactly what to prompt.
And not necessarily, it's more like, so there is this framework in product management called jobs to be done. One thing which you should know is how to define that job to be done without specifying how it should be done. So if you're an engineer transitioning into product management, try the practice of writing jobs to be done and re-review the jobs to be done. If any job to be done you feels like too much of an implementation detail, then that's a problem.
That's how you learn to unlearn.
Yes. And that has happened to me, like, because eventually you have to define, so it goes back to boundaries, right? If I tell in a data product, if I say, okay, I want to have, like, let's say this camera or this mic that is going, I want to make sure that this mic is recording for 30 minutes. That's a very vague requirement. What decibels is it recording by? Do you want pitch and tone and volume, all 3 recorded? What do you mean by 30 minutes? Like, is it connected by Bluetooth? Is it connected by Wi-Fi? Is it connected by SD camera? All of those are questions which you should define.
So again, coming back to thinking from all angles.
Yes.
Whenever you look at a problem.
Yes.
And that's the strength that a PM brings in.
So your job should be thinking externally. Like define a external map for a engineer so that they know what to build there. Like if you define a product requirement in a good enough manner, you will see such wonders happening because then you will allow the engineering to use their art form to come up with the best solution, and you will be doing the job that they are not supposed to do, which is understanding the external factors. See, if you keep thinking as an engineer, what will happen is you are doing a little bit of job of what they are supposed to do, and on top of it, you are not doing what you are supposed to do. So you'll end up, first of all, offending them, and also whatever gets built won't sell. So that's a very interesting piece. Yeah.
Amazing. That's very nicely put. I will now move to another question I had for you. This is more on strategy. We had this amazing session by Shreyas Doshi a few months back. He was describing what is product strategy, what is not product strategy.
Okay.
And he spent a lot of time focusing on what is not product strategy.
Okay.
We had this conversation earlier where you said strategy is about knowing what not to do.
Yeah.
So if you can just elaborate more on that, and we will love to learn more about it.
Yes. So So I'm not sure what Shreyas might have shared, but from a typical perspective of what not to do, a lot of times you have to figure out, like, are you asking from a product standpoint or from an interview standpoint?
Let's say from a product strategy, like we were doing a case right now. If we were to show exceptional product thinking, how will we figure out what not to think, what not to say, and how is that the definition of strategy in a way? What's your opinion on that?
So you kind of muddle the two, right? Like, from an interview perspective, again, I'll go back to my previous point. If you're pivoting from engineering to product, the last thing you want to do is try to solve the problem. Do not solve the problem. Like, you will have fantastic engineers who can solve the problem for you. Your job is to identify why the problem is important, in what context the problem exists, and like what ways you can, like basically how to, from a customer, like you said the 3 C's, so that's the point, right? But in a product strategy standpoint, a lot of times what you should not be doing is kind of depends on what stage you are in, right? Like for example, just writing a product strategy is not enough. So what you should not be doing is just going too much into the future. There has to be some reality to it, right? So for example, you have to stay connected to where you are, and like I can go and write a massive strategy for a product which can happen 10 years after. It won't work, right? So I have to take into account where we are today. Is there an appetite for leadership or for it to become reality? And who are the stakeholders who I need, going back to politics or going back to engagement, who will benefit or who will propose, like go for it, right? Because again, going back to what a product manager does is one of the memes was you're singing your melody, which only you are, like product management is a very lonely job. Like people may think, oh, we talk to everyone, but in reality, you are sometimes left in your own corner because you are just putting your pom-pom on for a message which only you believe in. There's a reason why they are called mini CEOs, because like there's only one CEO for a company, right? Why is that the case? Because that is the one single champion for a company. So as a, like from a strategy perspective, you should believe in the strategy that you're writing, but also understand whether it's feasible to execute on that. Like if you start to go into, okay, 10 years after we'll do this, 50 years after we'll do this, or you are like Airbnb, right? Airbnb starts to go into and say, okay, I'm gonna start selling tools or food on my app as well. No, that's a very different, like maybe 10 years after, if they slowly pivot into it, you can do, right? So you have to stick to what bounds or confines you're working within and define, okay, like going back to the case question, when I said that, okay, if you start going too much into the wild, the interviewer will tell you, oh, can you tell me more about that? Because that seems like, how did you reach that conclusion? So that's the point, right? Like from a product strategy standpoint, like as long as you're in those bounds where you're not going too much into the solution or you're going too much in the wild, you should be fine.
And we'll actually incorporate all of this when we rewrite the case that we were just discussing. We'll feature it in our product casebook. That is also something in the lines. If anybody in the audience, shout out to all of you. If you have interesting product stories, feel free to reach out to us. There's a form in the description, and our LinkedIn and email will also be out there. We would love to hear your stories, possibly have you on the pod, and also write a case along with you. Great, Sparsh. One last question we had. Kevin, you want to take this one?
Yeah. Final one.
We are moving into the next segment, guys. This is hot take segment. This is the more controversial one which we have put in specially to get some small shots for this podcast. Hopefully you guys will love this segment.
Yeah, we're experimenting with this segment, so it's a hot take segment. So tell us, Sparsh, what is a common belief that you think deserves a rethink?
So legacy products managers, I don't really think they're like real product managers. If you are dealing again with more than 6 to 8 months or more than a year for that product, right? Because once you have been tasked to either kill a product or either make it self-serve, right? Like for example, if anything which is not innovating is a legacy product, like this battery or this product, this mic, right? Whoever has built this once, now the job is done. Now I may hire a product manager for this product because I don't want to sell it anymore. So I want to take it out of market. And that's typically a 6 to 8 months project. So after that, yes, you may have to stay engaged once in a while, but most of the job or most of the effort, most of the work that you will be doing, which is again going and touching all these external factors, creating the proposal, getting everybody agreed, creating a plan, assuming everything, and then getting everything stand up. It's 6 to 8 months at max. So you're done after that. But if you are still doing product management of a legacy product, then you're a program manager, your operations, as he mentioned a little bit earlier. Yeah, that's not product. Because what is it that you're creating? Not creating any value.
I actually see some parallels with consulting as well, because unless you are bringing any incremental value, your contract will not be renewed. your value is based on your hours, not just on your hours, but how much of valuable hours you have.
A lot of consultants actually move into PM. Like if you see the number of people, like because in consulting there's like go up or go out, right?
Yeah.
A lot of consultants come into PM because that's what alignment is here.
We'll touch more on that in another episode.
Yeah.
But interesting
Interesting.
Great. So that is amazing. We got a nice hot take from Sparsh. Thanks for grilling program managers or legacy product managers. Great.
Legacy product managers are not product managers.
They're not product managers.
Yeah.
I don't believe that.
Great. So now let's wrap up with a more reflective segment. We have this one called Lessons from Leaders. So this is a segment where we can perhaps think about a situation where some leader solved a problem which was hard and you were really admirable. Like, wow, I should have thought that way. And that made you think a bit. Some of your mentors, perhaps, any names come to your mind?
Yeah, I think there are a couple mentors for sure. So I guess I've had the fortune of having good managers. So a lot of managers kind of turn into mentors in a way as well. So in my previous job at Microsoft, Nabila Babar was my manager for a brief time. And she just switched to Google. She's in their AI space. So she was very good. Like in terms of where it helped was she helped me kind of understand the communication of how it happens upwards. So like when I'm talking to leadership, when I'm talking to kind of how do I tweak my engagement, right? Because a lot of times perception matters a lot, right? So that was once when I realized that my current manager, Ram Sangi Reddy, like he has helped me a lot where he has been very critical on how things are presented to people, like because credibility matters, right? Like when somebody is asking you to solve a problem, you have to make sure you are presenting it in the right manner and you are thinking from their perspective. Because let's say you go to an EVP or a GM and you're presenting a solution to a problem, you have to think from their mindset. What is it that you are going to them for? Are you asking them something? Are you telling them something? Are you asking approval of something? Like, what is it that you're going on for, right? So one thing over time which I have learned is like even when I was in engineer, like Pankaj Nayak was my manager for a brief time. Amazing leader, like all of them amazing leaders. Like Pankaj was my first ever manager and one of the best ones. What he also told me was a lot of times just kind of you're going to be tasked with building a plane or fixing a flying plane while it is burning.
That's a good picture.
Yeah.
I like that.
So that will, and what you have to imagine is,
Wow.
what you have to believe that you're the best in that. That's one thing, right? You also have to know where you are standing. You have to know what is at stake. So that just puts things into perspective. So like I kind of determined like there are 3 learnings from every mentor which I've gone through so far, or every leader, which is like in product management, first of all, since it's a people job or any higher job that you go, whether it's engineering manager, product manager or anything, it's a people business, right? Everything works with people. So, and with people, perception matters a lot. Everything is built on perception. Like nobody would know everything that happens in somebody's life, but if they get a vouch of you from someone, that's how trust is built, right? So perception matters a lot. Number 2, like you have to engage broadly and authentically. Like once, let's say, you can't just live in your own bubble. Like for example, when you are in that flying plane which is also burning, you cannot be expert of everything. You will have to engage with the pilot. You will have to engage with whoever is on the plane. You'll have to engage with the whoever knows how to fix the whatever engine and whatever it may be, right? There will be different types of people in different mindsets. So you'll have to engage with different types of people and just stay calm, but also stay true to yourself. Because going into perception, if at any point of time anybody feels that, okay, you're not coming off authentically, it just won't go. And the third piece, which is the hardest I feel, specifically in Asian cultures, coming from India, is or I guess it's maybe in US as well, because Steve Jobs also used to say this, which is people just don't ask for help. Ask for help. You are not the expert for everything. Like there is no such thing as know it all. Like you will need help from people. You can offer help to people. Just keep it an open channel.
Keep your calendar always available, like you do with your Calendly.
Yes, Calendly is one thing. Like always, that's one way I try to contribute back, and I've seen other leaders doing that. Well, the last email kind of you threw me off because product managers are notoriously known to have full calendars because otherwise people just put too much on. Yeah. But that's also the reason why their calendars are full, right? Because they're engaging with everyone. They need to engage with everyone. Because tomorrow, they don't know, like let's say day after tomorrow you launch some product and something broke down. Now you will have no clue who to go for. Whether to go to the account manager for that customer, whether to go to a customer success manager, whether to go to an engineer, whether to go to a solutions engineer, whether to go to your manager that, hey, things are on fire.
Yeah.
So
building strong relationships in advance is something vital, because whenever a fire appears, you got someone to call and to ask for help.
Yeah, and not just that, like even if you know the person, if you only call them when the fire is happening, their chances are they'll not pick it up.
Yeah.
You need to have those bridges well-oiled, always ready.
Exactly.
On mission mode. Like it's a war. Anything can be on fire anytime.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice. Anything on the side of the Berkeley community, like the people around here you found insightful?
So yeah, I mean, you guys are doing a fantastic job with the product management club for sure. Since last year when you started.
Yeah, it's been just 1 year for us.
Last year when you started, it has been amazing, like with all the summits and all. I do feel that Berkeley, or specifically Haas, is sitting in the best place imagined. Like given you are in the center of Silicon Valley or tech industry, and given the current AI space, and you have people like Arvind, or people, I think, what's his name? Perplexity CEO.
Arvind,
yeah.
He actually mentioned he went to this GSB podcast, and there he was sitting in blue and gold. He was like, I will have to be on a Berkeley show.
Yeah.
So
we can figure about that.
We will have Sparsh's seat, Arvind, perhaps someday.
Yeah, so he is an engineer, or he was from a research side. But from a product standpoint, I feel Haas has a lot of people who can make a really good product manager.
Yeah. And they're already out there. So many product rock stars, our alums, our students.
Exactly.
We hope to get all of them eventually to campus and learn from them.
Well,
that's the goal.
My only thought process, and go Bears, obviously. The only thought process is that beyond who is already a product manager and from Haas, the new people who are coming into Haas and who have a fire for product management can do much more. There is so much of value here. And that's where I'll just stop there. Yeah.
Great.
Awesome. This was an awesome conversation. I hope you enjoyed this a lot in the same way we did. Thanks for staying until now. I mean, first episode at PMC. Thanks Sparsh. Thanks Divansh. And guys, please stay tuned for more episodes.
And do remember to engage with this content. Our description box has a link. Please submit your product stories or reach out to us. We'll be happy to have conversations. Great.
Hey,
Awesome.
See ya.
See you.
Bye-bye.